Recording in progress.
Kasi hindi ako nakatulog. Dumating ako dito sa Manila. Oh? Wala ka na. Wala ka na. Karasan ko pa. Kasama natin. Ito, marami ka. 10 o'clock. Ah, gamay na lang. Gamay na lang.
Yung mga biglaan. Mas nahihirapan ako. Amen. Imagine.
Promise, dito. Side. Kabila.
Pero mabuti na. Ayos.
The session is called to order. Everybody is requested to rise for the singing of the national anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupit, di ka masisingil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong paghaw, may nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidinig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng waraming pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya dapat may mga ating at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for a minute of silent prayer and meditation.
May I request everyone to bow your heads and feel the presence of our Lord.
Okay.
We thank you for every seat that has been filled here today, for its mind and heart that fills the presence of this room. We come to you asking you for your guidance and wisdom as we tackle the various issues affecting our nations today. We believe that your righteousness transcends all our efforts and understanding. Help us to engage in meaningful discussions and fill us with your grace so that in all our decisions, we may always advocate for the common good. Continue to bless the members and leaders of this House of Representatives as we perform our solemn duty as voices of our people. Continue to remind us that in all we do and all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth for greater glory and for the service of humanity. We ask this in your most holy name. Amen.
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 Thank you for the prayer. The Secretary General is directed to call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. Honorable Representatives Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Omentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Mongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulot Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jean, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalaw, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizaldi, Ko Pilar, Ko Juanco Jaime, Ko Juanco Mark, Colada, Colliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Hua, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo City Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enciso, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Udela, Farinas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeyos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gintu, Gulias, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Powilton, Kunghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Lim Kay Chong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Maniquis, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles Juan Fidel, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Uwaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicias Agabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rilio, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Ieda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richelle, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Suwansing Horacio, Suwansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, P, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Verzosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Christian Tel, Yap Christopher Son, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, Yu Divina Grace, Yu Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 310 members responded to the call.
With 310 members responding to the call, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, considering that copies of the journals of the previous sessions were already distributed to the members, I move that we dispense with the reading of the same and approve the following. Journal number 30, 2022, dated November 21, 2022. Journal number 31, 2022, dated November 2022. 2022, and Journal number 32, 2022, dated November 23, 2022. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we proceed with the reference of business, and with this, we request the Secretary General be directed to read the titles of the bills on third reading, titles of the bills and resolutions on first reading, as well as communications and committee reports. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
is there any objection? The chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed. Please proceed.
Reference of business bills on first reading. House Bill 6269, providing for fair treatment of certain senior citizen pensioners by granting annual Christmas cash gift and pension increase to pensioners of the SSS and GSSIS by Representative Yap Christopherson.
To the Special Committee on Senior Citizens.
House Bill 6270, providing for mandatory integration of voter education in the junior and senior high school curricula by Representative Yap Christopherson.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 6271, strengthening the anti-rabies program through mandatory microchipping of pet dogs and cats by Representative Yap Christopherson.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 6272, mandating the participation of the youth sector in all disaster risk reduction and management councils by Representative Yap Christopherson.
To the Committee on Disaster Resilience.
House Bill 6273, providing for a wage employment assistance program for displaced and/or vulnerable workers institutionalizing for the purpose the TUPAD program of DOLE by Representative Haresco.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill 6274, converting the Ibahay District Hospital in Ibahay, Aklan into a 200-bed capacity hospital to be known as the Western Aklan General Hospital by Representative Haresco.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 6275, instituting a national land use policy by Representative Magsino.
To the Special Committee on Land Use.
House Bill 6276, establishing an electronics donation and recycling program all over the country by Representative Gintu.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 6277, mandating the establishment of an online legal knowledge and assistance system that will be accessible nationwide by Representative Gintu.
To the Committee on Justice and the Committee on Information and Communication Technology.
House Bill 6278, providing for a comprehensive water resources management by Representative Gintu.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization, the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 6279, providing for the speedy and effective perpetuation of the testimony of a vital witness in the prosecution for a criminal offense so as to prevent its subsequent recantation or substantial alteration by Representative Garcia Pablo John.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 6280, providing for best value procurement by Representative Garcia Pablo John.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 6281, further amending the cockfighting law of 1974 as amended and PD number 1802-A in order to rationalize and strengthen the regulation of cockfighting by LGUs by Representative Garcia Pablo John.
To the Committee on Games and Amusements.
House Bill 6282, converting the Pinamungahan and San Fernando Road in Pinamungahan, Cebu from a provincial to a national road by Representative Garcia Pablo John.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 6283, institutionalizing the digital legal deposit system by Representative Garcia Pablo John.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 6284, promoting the right to repair digital electronic products in the Philippines by Representative Garcia Pablo John.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 6285, authorizing provincial governors to solemnize marriages within their territorial jurisdictions by Representative Garcia Pablo John.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 6286, strengthening the knowledge, economy, human resources of the Philippines, increasing the appropriations for scholarship, scientific research, innovation, and enterprise education and skills training.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 6287, establishing a national monitoring system for persons deprived of liberty in the Philippine jail system by Representative Garcia Pablo John.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 6288, rationalizing the income requirements for the creation of a province and the declaration of highly urbanized status in the case of component cities by Representative Garcia Pablo John.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 6289, amending Article 152 of the Rice Penal Code by including security guards of duly accredited security agencies while on official duty as agents of persons in authority by Representative Garcia Pablo John.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 6290, requiring public telecommunication entities and internet service providers to grant refunds to consumers in case of service outages and disruptions by Representative Castro, France, Brosas, and Manuel.
To the Committee on Information and Communication Technology.
House Bill 6291, institutionalizing the higher education loan program to be provided by the Development Bank of the Philippines and the Land Bank of the Philippines by Representative Kua.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 6292, providing for universal social pension to all senior citizens by Representative Tiang.
To the Special Committee on Senior Citizens.
House Bill 6293, declaring Malamawi Island in Isabela Basilan an ecotourism zone by Representative Hataman.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 6294, establishing medical tourism zones throughout the country by Representative Goles.
To the Committee on Health and the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 6296, establishing in Barangay Novaliches proper, Quezon City, the Novaliches Health Center and Lying-in Clinic by Representative Vargas.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 6297, establishing Bagbag Integrated High School in Barangay Bagbag, Quezon City by Representative Vargas.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 6298, creating the District Port of General Santos upgrade its facilities by Representative Acharon.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 6299, providing for a revised apprenticeship program by Representative Arrogancia.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill 6300, urging the planning, evaluation, and promotion of banana for international export, establishing a Banana Export Development Council by Representative Lee.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 6301, protecting senior citizens from abuse by Representative Aquino Magsaysay.
To the Special Committee on Senior Citizens.
House Bill 6302, creating a Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization, the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill 6303, providing for the Magna Carta of the Out-of-School Youth by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Bill 6304, the revised charter of the GSIS by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 6305, establishing a national preventive mechanism against torture in the Philippines by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Human Rights.
House Bill 6306, establishing the National Framework for Water Resource Management and creating the Department of Water Resources and the Water Regulatory Commission by, by Representative Yap Christopherson.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 6308, promoting commuters' welfare by creating a universal contactless smart card for public transportation in Metropolitan Manila by Representative Haresco.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 6309, granting universal social pension for senior citizens by Representative Aquino Magsaysay.
To the Special Committee on Senior Citizens.
House Bill 6310, providing for nursing scholarships program to deserving students by Representative Agarao.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 6311, establishing the National Framework for Water Resource Management and creating the Department of Water Resources and the Water Regulatory Commission by Representative Arrogancia.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization, the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 6312, mandating the use of body camera by law enforcement officers by Representative Olivares.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 6313, prohibiting commercial entities from tracking or identifying consumers via facial recognition technology and other biometric markers without the full knowledge and express consent by Representative Olivares.
To the Committee on Information and Communication Technology.
House Bill 6314, mandating all broadcasting companies, including cable television systems, to conduct gender and disability awareness and sensitivity trainings and seminars for all its employees involved in content creation by Representative Olivares.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 6315, creating the Philippine Boxing and Combat Sports Commission by Representative Olivares.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization, the Committee on Games and Amusement.
House Bill 6316, establishing a public veterinary clinic in every city and municipality by Representative Vargas.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 6317, establishing a public veterinary clinic in Barangay Santa Monica, Quezon City by Representative Vargas.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bills number 6318 to 6322, establishing TESDA training and assessment centers in certain barangays in Quezon City by Representative Vargas.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 6323, providing for the development of sustainable villages in the country by Representative Versosa.
To the Committee on Housing and Urban Development.
House Bill 6324, establishing the Liver Center of the Philippines by Representative Versosa.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 6325, creating a comprehensive legal aid program rationalizing standards for the underprivileged and underdeserved by Representative Nograles Juan Fidel Felipe.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 6326 to 6330, converting certain elementary schools in Sorsogon into integrated schools by Representative Fortes.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 6331, 6332, and 6333, converting certain roads in Caloocan City into national roads by Representative Malapitan.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 6334, mandating all tollway operators to use Unified Electronic Toll Collection Access Pass by Representative Olivares.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 6335, declaring March 22 as a special working holiday to honor the heroism of the COVID-19 Filipino healthcare workers around the world by Representative Lee.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 6340, requiring banks, lending corporations, financing corporations, quasi-banks, cooperatives, and microfinance non-government organizations to utilize agreements and documents in the Filipino language or in the vernacular languages used in their places of business by Representative Cuentabella.
to the Committee on Bank and Financial Intermediaries,
House Bill 6341, to protect Filipinos from the harmful effects of industrial trans fatty acids by Representative Gato.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 6342, strengthening the regulatory system in the country to combat counterfeit pharmaceutical products by Representative Gato.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 6343, mandating the formulation and institutionalization of a comprehensive infrastructure development master plan by Representative Benitez.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 6344, requiring the instant messaging services providers to enable interoperability function in their messaging applications by Representative Garcia Albert.
to the Committee on Information and Communication Technology,
House Bill 6345, providing for the creation of an interagency body that will propose, formulate, draft, and direct the implementation of a comprehensive master plan to address an imminent water crisis by Representative Silverio.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 6346, amending Section 482 of the Local Government Code of 1991 by
To the com-
Representatives Gatchalian and Verga.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 6347 to 6355, establishing TESA training and assessment centers in several barangays in Quezon City by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 6356, renewing the franchise of Bagani and Broadcasting Corporation by Representative Dalipe.
to the Committee on Legislative Franchises,
House Bill 6357, converting the branch campuses of the Cavite State University in Carmona and Silang Cavite into regular campuses of the Cavite State University to be known respectively as the CVSU Carmona Campus and CVSU Silang Campus by Representative Leola.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 6359, creating the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources by Representative Suan.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization, the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 6360, creating the Department of Water Resources by Representative Suan.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization, the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 6361, creating a medical reserve corps under DOH by Representative Suan.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 6362, establishing the Philippine Heart Center, Mindanao and Cagayan de Oro, Misamis Oriental by Representative Suan.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 6363, upgrading the salary levels of public school teachers in basic education to salary grade 15 and the teaching personnel in higher education to salary grade 17, and increasing the minimum salary of public non-teaching personnel to 70,000 pesos by Representative Suan.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 6364, creating the Department of Disaster Resilience by Representative Suan.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization, the Government and the Committee on Disaster Resilience,
House Bill 6365, establishing a legal scholarship and return service program for deserving students by Representative Suan.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 6366, providing for the Magna Carta of Young Farmers by Representative Suan.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 6367, establishing the Philippine Virology Science and Technology Institute by Representative Suan.
to the Committee on Health and the Committee on Science and Technology,
House Bill 6368, declaring the Siki-It the Elepante Rock Formation located in the coast of Labnig, Corcuera, Romblon, a tourism site by Representative Madrona.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill number 6369 and 6370, declaring certain beaches in Corcuera, Romblon as tourism destinations by Representative Madrona.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 6371, declaring the Suba Cove located in Barangay San Roque, Mangansag, and Mabini in Corcuera, Romblon, an ecotourism zone by Representative Madrona.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 6372, declaring the ruins of Cota de San Jose located in Corcuera, Lombron, a tourism site by Representative Madrona.
to the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 6373, declaring the 3 nautical miles surrounding the Calayan Island group of and Scarborough Shoal in the West Philippine Sea as marine protected area by Representative Hagidorn.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill 6375, providing for the acquisition of material systems, facilities, integrated military systems, and services by the Department of National Defense and its bureaus by Representative Alvarez Mercedes.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 6376, to further develop capability and establish expeditious transformation of the Department of National Defense and its bureaus by Representative Alvarez Mercedes.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 6377, strengthening the employment rights of members of the Reserve Force of the Armed Forces of the Philippines by Representative Alvarez Mercedes.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 6378, granting PWDs who are self-employed a 70% government subsidy for their monthly premium contributions to SSS for the first 3 months of coverage by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Special Committee on Persons with Disabilities.
House Bill 6379, exempting from state tax the unpaid balance of just compensation due to the decedent owner of his/her legal heirs or successors in interest of agricultural land acquired by the government by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 6380, granting security of tenure under certain conditions to government employees whose nature of appointment is either temporary or contractual and who have rendered a total of 10 years of efficient service by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 6381, to enhance protection of to municipal fishing and artisanal fisher folks by establishing a 10-kilometer municipal fishing buffer zone beyond the 15-kilometer municipal waters by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill 6382, mandating annual psychiatric, psychological, drug, and physical tests for police officers by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 6383, banning the sale of shower curtains made of polyvinyl chloride, more commonly known as PVC in the Philippines, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 6384, to reform the budget process by enforcing greater accountability in public financial management, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 6385, declaring a climate change emergency, enhancing resiliency and adaptability to the effects of climate change, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Climate Change.
House Bill 6386, creating the Council for the Built Environment, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 6387, creating the Department of Disaster Resilience, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization, the Committee on Disaster Resilience.
House Bill 6388, implementing a lifeline rate for Internet services, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Information and Communication Technology.
House Bill 6389, to develop a national quality policy defining the Philippine national quality infrastructure, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 6390, strengthening the National Housing Authority, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Housing and Urban Development.
House Bill 6391, amending Presidential Decree Number 1986, creating the Movie and Television Review and Classification Board, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 6392, establishing the Philippine Air Force Academy, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 6393, establishing resource development and crisis assistance centers for women and children in every province and city of the country, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Women and Gender Equality.
House Bill 6394, providing a ban on dumping of sewage, sludge, and industrial waste into the sea, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Ecology.
House Bill 6395, strengthening the architecture profession, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 6396, promoting workers' health and wellness by providing incentives to employers for the implementation of workforce wellness and workplace improvement programs, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill 6397, institutionalizing the One Tablet, One Student program for public school students and students in state universities and colleges, by Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture and the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 6398, establishing the Maharlika Wealth Fund, providing for the management, investment, and use of the proceeds of the fund and for other purposes, by Representative Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Dalipe, Marcos, Quimbo, Romualdez, Yeda Marie, and Asidre.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
Resolutions. House Resolution 580, urging the Committee on Energy to conduct an investigation for the review and reassessment of all issuances, memoranda, guidelines, rules, and regulations of the Energy Regulatory Commission and the National Electrification Administration, by Representatives Dagoop and De Jesus.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 581, urging the Committee on Agriculture and Food to conduct an investigation on the sustained high prices of pork and pork products despite the implementation of EO number 171, by Representative Briones.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 582, urging the House of Representatives to conduct an inquiry into the 123 agreement of the Nuclear Energy Cooperation Deal with the United States in light of the high threats posed to the health and safety of Filipinos and our environment by experimental nuclear technology, by Representatives Castro, France, Brosas, and Manuel.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 583, congratulating and commending Representative Richard I. Gomez for winning the 5th Asian Compact Sporting Championship 2022 held in Potaram, Thailand on November 19 to 20, 2022, by Representative Fernandez.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 584, congratulating Dr. Justin Adriel Zent Gautier Togonon for placing top 1 in the October 2022 Physician's Licensure Examination, by Representative Ang.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
Communications. Letter dated October 28, 2022 of LBB President and CEO submitting to the House of Representatives a copy of their report on the utilization of funds for the Unconditional Cash Transfer Program, third quarter CY 2022.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Letters dated November 14 and 16, 2022 of BSP, Acting Deputy Director, Office of the General Counsel and Legal Services, transmitting to the House duly certified copies of certain BSP issuances dated November 20, 2022.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
Committee reports. Committee report numbers 178, 183, and 184 submitted by the Committee on Tourism on House Bill numbers 6307, 6358, and 6374 respectively. Committee report number 179 submitted by the Committee on Agrarian Reform and the Committee on Ways and Means on House Bill number 6336, and Committee report numbers 180, 181, and 182 submitted by the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources and the Committee on Appropriations on HB numbers 6337, 6338, and 6339 respectively.
The aforementioned committee reports are referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, before we proceed, I move that we recognize the guest of the Honorable Deputy Speaker Vincent Franco Duke D. Frasco today at the plenary hall, namely Mayor Alju Fernando Frasco from the Municipality of Liloan, Province of Cebu. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome to the House of Representatives. Mayor Frasco.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? They're being done. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Gus S. Tambunting of the 2nd District of Parañaque City to avail of the privilege hour.
The Honorable Tambunting of the 2nd District of Parañaque is recognized for the privilege hour. Please proceed.
Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I rise today on a matter of personal and collective privilege. Traffic, traffic, traffic. Pila sa jeep, pila sa train, pila sa bus. Isang matinding krisis na hinaharap ng bayang Pilipinas. More than 8 years ago, in September of 2014, in a privileged speech before my colleagues in the 16th Congress, which included many of you, I spoke about my great disappointment and disgust at the worsening traffic situation in Metro Manila in neighboring areas. That was 8 years ago when there were less people in the urbanized areas of our country. Unfortunately, 8 years down the line, in spite of all the efforts we have made in government, our country continues to face a massive transportation and traffic situation. Metro Manila and other urbanized areas are constantly plagued with heavy traffic. The narrowness of many roads all over the country makes traffic a reality most Filipinos have to deal with. In recent years, the traffic of Metro Manila has been labeled by several studies as the worst traffic in the world. In 2019, a global study by Waze said we have the worst traffic on Earth based on the average speed of vehicles one can drive, which was measured at 4.88 minutes per kilometer on an average. In recent days, terrible traffic we experience in Metro Manila has been put on center stage. Christmas is near, thus the traffic is expected to be worse in the coming weeks due to the shopping rush. In an article of CNN Philippines, the MMDA said it is preparing for a possible 20% increase in traffic volume. In the different parts of our country, our traffic situation is reminiscent of a doomsday scenario which we would watch in movies with cars upon cars lined up in the streets while just waiting for something to happen. The bad traffic situation wastes time. It wastes opportunities, the time which could have been spent on other important things and activities such as spending more time with family, helping the kids with their school assignments, taking care of our elderly and sick, our loved ones, and even earning an extra income. All these opportunities were put to waste. In a 2018 study of the Japan International Cooperation Agency, also known as JICA, said traffic costs in the Philippines reached 3.5 billion pesos of lost opportunities daily. 3.5 billion pesos wasted a day. Think about that, dearest colleagues, of how much is lost due to our transportation and traffic crisis. There is so much development which cannot be done because of this crisis. The amount lost a day is expected to triple in the year 2030. Let us not allow that to happen, dearest colleagues. JICA conducted a study in close coordination with the relevant government agency, which cited strategies to reduce traffic congestion significantly before it impacts to the lower income group, which will be the hardest hit when the congestion worsens by 2030. As early as 2014, they formed the DREAM Plan to have a modern, affordable, well-coordinated and integrated transport system for Mega Manila by 2030. The roadmap includes planned and guided urban transport expansion to adjoining provinces through integrated public transport, affordable housing for low-income groups, retrofitting of existing urban areas, and integration with public transport, expanding multimodal public transport network, and strengthening the traffic management system. I commend our government agencies who have taken the necessary steps in improving our transportation infrastructure in the recent years. This includes building of new roads, skyways, improving our public transport system, among others. Unfortunately, this is clearly not enough. Much more still needs to be done to alleviate this transportation and traffic crisis. The traffic crisis is closely linked to our country's transportation crisis, based on a study by the University of California, Berkeley, which was published by many of our media outlets the other day. Manila ranks 56 out of 60 of the world's biggest city in terms of public transit, meaning Metro Manila, or Manila, is the fifth worst globally in terms of public transport, only ahead of Johannesburg, Riyadh, Nairobi, and Jeddah. Let this sink into us, dearest colleagues. This scientific study, the 2022 Urban Mobility Readiness Index, has shown that Manila is the fifth worst in the world when it comes to public transportation and the worst in Asia. This is not surprising when we see the long lines for our jeeps, tricycles, taxis, trains, and buses. Our people spend so much time waiting for a bus or a jeep, time which could have been used for productivity if our transportation system was more efficient. There is so much room for improvement. I say this not to put blame on anyone, but to bring these issues to the halls of Congress so we can work together in crafting meaningful solutions to alleviate the suffering of our countrymen. The government has plans to solve our traffic and transportation crisis. The MMDA, the mayors, 17 of them in NCR, and other government agencies have committed to a 5-year plan to mitigate vehicle congestion in Metro Manila. MMDA said the Comprehensive Traffic Management Plan, or CTMP as we call it, for Metro Manila is to be funded by JICA, which covers strategies to address the traffic management issues in the metropolis, seen to be a hindrance to the economy's continued improvement. One of the most urgent of these strategies would be to complete the improvement of 42 traffic bottlenecks the CTMP project has identified in the signal systems. I propose that to attract more investors and tourists, our local government units throughout the Philippines can work with the national government by developing their own transportation system to help solve traffic problems that affect economic growth. As our local government units will be receiving more funds as a result of the Mandanas ruling, we ask the support of our LGUs all over the Philippines to improve our transportation system. One of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations is to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. This should be done through access to safe, affordable, and sustainable transport systems. The national government, in partnership with our local government, should invest in sustainable, state-of-the-art, mass public transportation systems in order to solve what has been labeled as one of the worst traffic problems on earth. Dearest colleagues, almost 3 months ago, I filed House Bill 4363, which is an act providing for emergency powers to the President of the Philippines to address the transportation crisis in Metro Manila. A time of crisis calls for drastic measures. I filed this bill because I truly believe we have a transportation and traffic crisis on our hands which needs to be solved with the full force of government with focus and resources. We hope to solve this as soon as possible. If we do not solve this as soon as possible, our people and future generations of Filipinos will only continue to suffer Our economy will continue to feel the pain. Our tourism industry will not take flight in the way we want it. Let us work together towards improving our transportation system for the good of the Filipino people. I seek your support, dearest colleagues, in making the transportation system something we can be proud of. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, dearest colleagues.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wish to interpolate, I move that we refer the privileged speech to the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? There being none, motion's approved.
Mr. Speaker, before we proceed, may we recognize the guests of the Honorable Arlene Brosas of the Gabriela Party List. They are parliamentarians and advocates for Ratify C-190, namely Ms. Leilani Buena, Ms. Jacqueline Ruiz, Ms. Crizen Soriano, Ms. Caitlin Luares, Ms. Gertrude Slibang, Ms. Joanne Bernadette Paz, Ms. Joanne May Salvador.
Welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we recognize the Honorable Arlene Brosas to avail of the privilege hour.
The Honorable Representative Brosas of Gabriela is now recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, guests, and to Filipino women listening to our live broadcast, good afternoon po. I rise today to bring to the fore the heightened vulnerabilities of women brought about by the worsening economic crisis and the measures which we must consider to address these vulnerabilities. Mr. Speaker, sa darating na ika-30 ng Nobyembre ay gugunitain ng iba't ibang grupo ang kapanganakan ni Gat Andres Bonifacio. Tubong tondo at mula sa uring manggagawa. Bit-bit ang panawagan para sa dagdag sahod at pagpapababa ng presyo ng mga bilihin. Sahod, itaas, presyo ibaba, ang lumalakas na sigaw sa mga pamilihan, lansangan at terminal ng pampublikong sasakyan. Malapit na malapit ito sa kahilingan ng mga kababaihan at mamamayan sa ngayon na bugbog na sa krisis. Mababang sahod, malawak na disempleyo at taas presyo. Mr. Speaker, hindi pa man hinihiwa ang sibuyas, maiiyak ka na sa sobrang taas ng presyo nito. Sa ilang palengke, mas mahal pa nga ito sa kilo ng baboy. Maging ang presyo ng bawang ay mataas na rin. Sabi nga sa komunidad, ginigisa na ang mga Pilipino sa sariling mantika, kaya okay na sigurong hindi maggisa ngayon. Pabiro mang pahayag ito, pero ito ang realidad na kinakaharap ng maraming kababaihan at mamamayan ngayon. Nagtaasan na ang presyo ng mga bilihin pero nananatiling barat ang pasahod. Batay sa pinakahuling Occupational Wages Survey, OWS, ng Philippine Statistics Authority, PSA, noong 2020, nasa 16,486 pesos lang ang average na buwanang sahod sa iba't ibang trabaho sa bansa. Mr. Speaker, sinasaklaw ng 16,486 pesos monthly average wage na ito ang kabuuang listahan ng mga occupations mula computer network professionals, software developers, engineers, service sector workers, at low-skilled workers. Higit na mas mababa ito ng 9% mula sa average monthly wage na 18,108 pesos noong 2018. Kaya naman, hindi na nakapagtataka na maraming Pilipino ang nagkukumahog ng mga ibang bansa dahil sa 16,486 pesos lang ang average monthly salary sa bansa. Sa wholesale and retail trade subsector, kung saan mas marami ang kababaihan, nasa 11,452 kada buwan lang ang average na sahod. Sa mga trabahong ito, vulnerable sa karagdagang abuso at pambabastos ang mga kababaihang manggagawa. Pinananatili ang barat na pasahod na ito sa pamamagitan ng regionalized wage setting sa ilalim ng RA 6727 o Wage Rationalization Act. Sa kasalukuyan, nasa 570 pesos kada araw ang minimum wage sa National Capital Region or NCR. Malayong-malayo sa 1,133 na family living wage o FLW na tawag natin. Sa Zamboanga Region, nasa 316 pesos kada araw lang ang minimum wage. Halos sayad sa lupa ang sahod kapag mas malayo sa NCR. Mr. Speaker, ang mga nabanggit ay antas ng pasahod sa formal na sektor na may malinaw na employee-employer relationship. Higit na kalunos-lunos ang sitwasyon sa informal na sektor, kung saan hindi nakapirmi ang pasahod. Hindi regular ang trabaho at malaking bilang ay mga kababaihan na naghahanap buhay bilang ambulant vendors. May maliit na sari-sari store, manikurista, masahista at iba pa. Women are even more vulnerable to abuse and violence in these work settings, as these situations are not governed by the usual employee-employer relationship and mechanisms for redress are utterly lacking. It is fortunate that for the first time, an international treaty openly tackles the various issues related to violence and harassment in the world of work, with emphasis on gender-based violence, but inclusive enough to tackle even practices that result in physical, psychological violence, but inclusive enough to tackle even practices that result in physical, psychological, sexual, or economic harm to workers. ILO Convention 190 offers a broader definition of the world of work to include not just usual work settings, but also the modes of transit to and from work, as well as work from home arrangements, especially in light of the pandemic. Today, I am happy to announce that we have launched here at the House of Representatives the Parliamentarians and Advocates for Ratify C-190 Network with the support of over 80 lawmakers. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng pumirma, no? 80 plus mahigit na po ang pumirma sa atin. Yan. And dozens more advocates. Kasama natin kanina ang mga mambabatas, unionista, labor advocates, public sector employees, at iba pang mga taga-suporta sa panawagang sahod, trabaho at karapatan. Nakapaloob ang ating aktibidad sa paggunita sa 18th Day of Activism to End Violence Against Women and Children at karugtong ng paggunita ng International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women or IDVAW. Moving forward, it is important to underscore the need to address the gaps in our current laws. We need to strengthen mechanisms for redress and remedies in various work settings, to monitor and penalize various forms of discrimination and abuse. We also need to provide additional protection and recognition of workers in the informal economy. But more importantly, we need to address the economic vulnerabilities from which these kinds of abuse and violence stem. Kailangang iangat ang antas ng pasahod patungo sa nakabubuhay na antas sa anumang rehiyon sa bansa at kamti ng disenteng trabaho para sa lahat ng manggagawa. Nang sa gayoy, mabawasan ang vulnerabilidad ng mga kababaihang manggagawa sa abuso at karahasan. We hope that one day, women will not resort to precarious, abusive work settings because they are already employed in regular occupations with decent wage and benefits. Sama-sama nating isulong ang makabuluhang pagtaas ng sahod ng mga manggagawa, disenteng trabaho, at pagpapalakas ng karapatang mag-unyon ng mga manggagawa. Wakasan ang karahasan at panliligalig sa mundo ng paggawa. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Brosas to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Franz L. Castro of Party List ACT Teachers to avail of the privileged hour.
Representative Castro is recognized to avail of the privilege hour. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker,
Majority Leader.
Can I move to recognize Congressman Abante before we listen to the speech of Congressman Castro?
Yes, before we recognize Representative Castro, may we hear from and recognize Representative Abante. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Majority Leader. We just would like to recognize the presence of the UN Special Rapporteur, Ms. Mama Fatima Singhate, the Human Rights Officer, Ms. Antara Singh. We also have Undersecretary Angelo Tapales for the Council for the Welfare of Children. Mr. Speaker, may I ask that we recognize these people that I have just mentioned.
Yes, welcome to the House of Representatives. Welcome to the Philippines.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Maceda.
Representative Maceda is recognized. Please
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Siguro naman papayagan ako ng aking kaibigan, Kong Franz Castro, na magsalita muna. Inatasan po tayo ng ating Speaker, kasama ni Congressman Abante, na salubungin ng ating United Nations Special Rapporteur na si Mama Fatima Singhate. She is here on a 14-day visit to check on sexual exploitation and abuse of children and trafficking, as well as child marriage and related laws. And she was very happy to hear because way back 2020 when she was appointed, the laws that we had on that matter were still old. They were working in silos. There was no main law that put them all together. But now I told her, because of the Revision of Laws Committee last Congress, we passed Republic Act number 11930, or the Online Sexual Abuse and Exploitation of Children, and Children Sexual Abuse and Exploitation Materials Act, or the OSAIC and Anti-CISAIM Act, which puts together all of these laws, repeals what needs to be repealed, amended what needs to be amended, puts in protection, rehabilitation to society, punishment. Is a very comprehensive law. And in fact, the IRR might already be signed late this year, she was informed. And we told them that as members of Congress, with Congressman Abante, Congressman Ko, and all of us under the leadership of the Speaker, we will exercise our oversight power, especially my oversight power under my committee for that particular law, to make sure that we protect our children so that when she comes back here 2 years, 3 years from now, we will have a better situation with regard to exploitation of our kids. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for your manifestation.
Mr. Speaker,
Representative Abante is
I
recognized.
ask for a 2-minute suspension, please.
Session suspended for 2 minutes.
Ako nag-move na direct. Pero siyang ako. Dapat ikaw yung walang all tayo. In terms of kasi kaya nga yung mga guest natin. Dapat si Senator. Yes. Pag siya again ako ang point of order, no?
Session is resumed. Majority
Speaker.
Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we resume the privilege hour and that we recognize Representative Franz L. Castro to avail of the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? There being none, motion is approved. Representative Castro is recognized to avail of the privilege hour. Please proceed.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong Speaker. Magandang hapon, Mr. Speaker, sa mga kapwa ko kinatawan, sa ating mga kababayan, at sa ating mga bisita. Sa darating na ika-30 ng Nobyembre ay gugunitain natin ang Bonifacio Day, ang araw ng paggunita sa Supremo ng Katipunan na si Gat Andres Bonifacio. Siya ang nagbigkis sa mga mamamayang Pilipino para sa revolusyonaryong pagpapatalsik sa kolonyal na paghahari ng mga Kastila sa bansa. Itinatag niya ang katipunan na nagpasimula sa Rebolusyong 1896. Si Andres Bonifacio ay mula sa hanay ng mga anak pawis, manggagawa at malawak na hanay ng mamamayan. Kaya nararapat lamang ang ating panawagan ngayong Nobyembre 30 na dapat ipagtagumpay na ang laban para sa pagtaas ng sahod, dagdag na benepisyo at kagyat na ayuda. Ramdam ng malawak na hanay ng mamamayan mula sa pinakamahirap hanggang sa middle class ang bagsik ng krisis sa ekonomiya. Idagdag pa ang inflasyon na umabot na sa 7.7% nitong nakaraang Oktubre at lubhang mababa ang halaga ng piso kontra dolyar. Dahil dito, patuloy na nagtataasan ang presyo ng batayang bilihin, langis at pamasahe, ngunit walang pagtaas ng sahod, dagdag benepisyo at kagyat na ayuda. Ginoong Speaker, ayon nga sa pinakahuling datos ng PSA, halos 2.5 million ang walang trabaho at higit sa 17 million ang underemployed. At habang nananatiling barat at hindi nakabubuhay ang sahod ng mga manggagawa at kawani, marami ang kumakapit sa patalim. Tulad ng paungutang na mas mataas ang interes, maitawid lamang ang pang-araw-araw na gastusin dahil hindi na kaya pang pagkasyahin ang kakarampot na sahod. Simula nang naupo si Presidente Marcos Jr., wala pang kagyat na nagawa para harapin ang krisis pang-ekonomiya, sa halip ay pinagpapatuloy yung mga patakaran at polisiya ng dating administrasyon na lubos na nagpapahirap sa mamamayan. Ayon sa pag-aaral ng Ibon Foundation, ang umiiral na minimum na pasahod sa NCR na 570 pesos ay malayong-malayo na sa 1,133 pesos na family living wage nitong October 2022. Lalo pa kung ikukumpara sa minimum wage sa ibang rehiyon sa bansa. Nakatakda pang lumayo ang agwat ng minimum na sahod sa family living wage sa harap ng palalang krisis pang-ekonomiya at inaasahang patuloy na pagtaas ng inflasyon. Sa tindi ng krisis, Makatwiran ang napapanahon na ipaglaban ang aumento at dissenting sahod sa antas na nakabubuhay na sahod o Family Living Wage or FLW. Nararapat din na magkaroon ng National Minimum Wage Standard at mabago na ang pulisiya at mabasura ang batas sa pagkakaiba-iba ng sahod o ng Wage Rationalization Law o Regionalization Law. Dahil kahit sa probinsya ay ramdam na ramdam ang kakulangan ng sahod. Kung tutuusin, pareho ang presyo ng bilihin dahil inaangkat pa ito. Ngayon, ang panawagan ay 1,100 na arawang sahod ng mga manggagawa sa pribado at 33,000 kada buwan naman sa pampublikong sektor. Dapat na ring solusyonan ng bagong administrasyon ang matagal ng problema ng mga manggagawa at kawani tulad ng kontraktualisasyon, atake sa mga unyon, kakulangan ng benepisyo at masahol na kondisyon sa paggawa, kawalan ng trabaho, mataas na presyo ng bilihin at serbisyo, regresibong buwis, kawalan ng ayuda sa mga nawalan ng trabaho at kabuhayan. Habang sa malaking bahagi ng lipunan natin na walang trabaho o inaasahang regular na kita o ang mga tinatawag nating informal sector. Kasama na rin ang mga magsasaka at mga manggagawa sa sektor ng agrikultura. Kailangan din ang kagyat na ayuda, lalo na sa pinakamahihirap na pamilya. Sa kasamaang palad ay tinigil na ang halos lahat ng ayudang binigay noong panahon ng lockdowns at kasagsagan ng pandemya. At makikita ang napakalaking kakulangang ito sa 2023 national budget. Sa makatuwid, Ginoong Speaker, ang mga mamamayan na walang trabaho at walang kita hanggang sa ngayon, sila ang nasa pinakamababang tinatawag nating poverty levels. Kahit pa man bago humagupit ang pandemya, ay hindi na sila nakabangon sa epekto nito. At hindi na makatatanggap ng anumang tulong pinansyal mula sa pamahalaan. Kaya naman iginigiit namin ang pamamahagi ng cash subsidies na 10,000 para sa pamilyang pinakaumaaray sa kasalukuyang krisis sa inflasyon at di napipigilang taas presyo. Kanina nga lang umaga, Mr. Speaker, nakita natin ang napakahabang pila ng ating mga kababayan sa DSWD na gustong makahingi ng ayuda sa ano pamampong mga pamamaraan. Whether ito po ay pang-transportasyon, pang-medical, pang-edukasyon, at ano man pong pangangailangan na pwedeng makuha sa ating DSWD. May iba't ibang panukala rin patungkol sa iba't ibang uri ng subsidyo para sa mga pinakamahirap na pamilya tulad ng rice subsidy o fuel subsidy. Nananawagan po ang representasyong ito at sa mga kapwa kinatawan na sana ay maaprubahan na ang 10,000 ayuda na nakabinbin, katulad din ng salary increase, wage hikes, bills para sa mga kawani at manggagawa, kailangan ng saklolohan na sa lalong madaling panahon ang mga nasa laylayan ng ating lipunan. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon, Ginoong Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the previous speech of Representative Franz L. Castro to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman from the 4th District of Leyte, the Honorable Richard I. Gomez, to avail of the privilege hour.
The Honorable Gomez from the 4th District of Leyte is recognized to avail of the privilege hour. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My distinguished colleagues, especially to the former mayors and governors, thank you for this opportunity. I stand before you today not just as a congressman, but also as a former chief executive to shed light on the issues surrounding the mandate of full devolution of certain functions as a result of the Mandanas-Garcia Supreme Court ruling. Beginning this year, while the LGUs have received proportional increase in their NTAs or national tax allotment, the executive branch also ordered a full devolution of functions by 2024 via Executive Order number 138 and National Budget Memorandum 138. The latter ordered the national agencies the following, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, number one, refrain from funding devolved local projects to first up to fourth class municipalities. Number two, include funding requirement for capacity building for these LGUs. And number three, limit the subsidies for local projects to LGUs belonging to the fifth and sixth class municipalities, geographically isolated depressed areas or GAIDAs, as well as those ranked in the top third highest poverty indices. End of quote. The logic behind this is simple and well-intentioned. That since the NPAs have increased, the LGUs could now afford all public services legally devolved to them. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, when you go down to the LGU level, the implementation of full devolution of programs is not as straightforward as it seems. Hindi ho talaga kaya. This year, the budget problems are hardly felt since the LGUs have received considerable increases in their national tax allotment because these are still based on the 2019 national taxes. However, we all know that national taxes and incomes in the years 2020 and 21 have been hardest hit due to the global economic recession resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. And I believe that this, among other considerations which I will present shortly, signal an imminent funding crisis for LGUs, at the very least in years 2023 and 2024. I will cite concrete examples for Ormoc City and the municipality of Merida, both under the district I represent. For the municipality of Merida, its problems begin with unclear income classification. It's classified as fifth class according to the DBM and fourth class according to the Department of Finance. Either way, its total 2023 reduction in funding reaches up to 23 million pesos. This has resulted in some canceled agricultural programs and 50% reduction in funding for medicine, for communicable diseases, and preventive medicines. The municipality's assistance for individuals in crisis has also been reduced. In the same way, its agri programs suffers a situation where the LGU is unable to fund the distribution of rice seeds and corn seeds for year 2023. While the problems are glaring for a municipality straddling between fourth and fifth class, higher income class LGUs are definitely not spared as well. Now, the situation in the city of Ormoc, a first-class independent component city, is both similar and different. Similar in that the LGU has also begun to experience reductions in NGA funding, or the National Government Agency funding, and NTA. Yet its various departments are coping in different ways. For example, because the City Health Department diligently processed its reimbursement for the COVID-19 vaccinations, it has now access to a special health fund, which they are using to fill the funding gaps. Because of this, their programs are only minimally affected. On the other hand, the city's agricultural office does not have the same access to gap financing funds now. They are forced to cancel some key programs, including its Maritime Development Program and Fertilizer Subsidy Program, which had a budget of 9 million in 2022. For Ormoc's DepEd, while full devolution has not been implemented for all programs, the construction of classrooms, which is most funding intensive at 2.2 million pesos per classroom, has been turned over to the LGUs already. Because the LGU of Ormoc could not fund all construction of classrooms, the Ormoc DepEd has resorted to prioritizing construction per face-to-face need and building classrooms using lower-cost building designs, just to stretch the local school board's special education fund. Ang classroom po ay 2.2 million ang isa. Ang backlog namin ay almost 80 classrooms. 60 million pesos lang ang school board fund for 2023. 80 plus classrooms is 176 million. Classrooms alone, ubos na ang local school board fund ng Ormoc City. Another funding-intensive program is the construction of farm-to-market roads. And since the DPWH has fully devolved this for next year, and the LGU has not allocated any funds specifically for farm-to-market roads, it is most likely that none will be next year. Importante ang farm-to-market roads sa mga lugar na probinsya katulad namin. Sa Metro Manila, wala kayong farm-to-market roads. Wala rin agricultural program, so wala kayong problema dyan. From the point of view of NGAs or national government agencies, preparations for full devolution are also largely unclear. So far, there are only two departments, the Department of Health and the Commission on Population Development, that have approved devolution transition plans as per DBM's website. The problems involving devolution of programs are nothing new, with the problems always revolving around the lack of funding. In fact, this has been ongoing for 30 years since the enactment of the Local Government Code na sinasabi, full devolution program sa mga LGU. Besides the 3-year lag in funding source and use, we have a systematic problem because the current calculation for NTAs or national tax allotment does not aim for a peso-for-peso correspondence between the NTA that each LGU will receive and the cost of devolved programs for each particular LGU. Ang hinihiling ko, kung piso ang NTA natin ay babagsak ng gobyerno, sana piso rin ang i-devolve na programa sa mga LGU. Hindi ho pwede na piso ang ibibigay nyo sa LGU, 1 million pesos ang programa ibabagsak ninyo sa LGU, magko-collapse po talaga ang LGU. Kung hindi natin gagawa ng paraan, magka-align ang NTA at cost of devolved functions, palagi na lang magiging kapos sa budget ang mga LGUs natin at sila po ay talagang magko-collapse. In the next few days, I'll be filing 2 legislative actions, Mr. Speaker, one to address the funding gap needs, and the other to address the misalignment between the calculation of NTAs and the cost of devolved functions. I wish to reiterate the urgency on this matter, Mr. Speaker. Kailangan bigyan natin ng pansin ang nagbabadyang budget crisis ng mga LGUs ngayon 2023 and 2024. Pababayaan ba natin bumagsak ang mga LGUs natin? Ako ho ay galing sa LGU. Hindi ko kayang talikuran, hindi ko kayang pikit ang mga mata ko habang alam natin na pwede nating iwasan ito. In closing, I'd like to thank Governor Mandanas of Batangas and Governor Garcia of Bataan for championing the rights of LGUs. And lastly, I cannot overemphasize how vital the roles of LGUs are in how our country operates. Sa lahat ng mga nagsisilbi sa ating mga LGU sa buong Pilipinas, I applaud you and salute you. For our country will be without its arms and legs if not for our LGUs. And for all of us here in the House of Representatives, I hope and pray that we all work together and take action now. By God's grace, we just might strike that balance so that our country, our beloved Philippines, can get back on her feet as soon as possible. Dagan kayong salamat, Mr. Speaker. Mabuhay tayong lahat at magandang hapon po sa inyo. Thank you.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman from the 5th District of Bulacan, the Honorable Ambrosio C. Cruz Jr., for his interpellation.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Cruz is recognized to interpolate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, will the gentleman from Ormoc yield to some questions?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat po.
Okay. Alam po ninyo, because of the Mandanas Bill, ang nakita natin kanina, nag-increase ang ating NTA by 24%. Sadly, by 2023, it went down to almost 15%. So on the average, each LGU, from an increase of almost 50 to 100 million, at the same time, it went down this year to almost 50 to 100 million. Ito ho yung predicament ngayon lahat ng LGU. How do you propose an equitable computation of the NTAs para natin makorek yung ating situation.
Mr. Speaker, yan po yung kailangan natin pag-usapan. Right now, the computation is not clear. Hindi rin kaya ng isang tao o ng isang agency lang ang gagawa nun. That is why I brought this up at sana tayo ng mga congressman magawa natin ng paraan dahil tayong lahat dito, we represent an LGU na sigurado magkakaroon ng problema by year 2023 and 2024. Dito sa problema ito, Mr. Speaker, sana po magkatulungan tayo, hanapan natin ang solusyon. Right now, I will tell you, I do not have a concrete solution. This is the reason why I'm crying for help. Kailangan magkaisa tayo dito, Mr. Speaker.
I agree with you. Sa ating proponent, nakita natin ang laki ng problema. Napakahirap ipaliwanag sa tao na yung budget natin, instead of increasing, bumaba. And how do we address the needs? And we know for a fact na wala naman tigil ang pagdagdag at paglaki ng pangailangan ng ating mga kababayan. So under the provision, budgetary provision 138, ang merong discrimination din dito kasi yung first class to second class municipalities, ang binibigyan lamang yung between third to fifth class assistance. So
Yes.
how do we address this problem?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Yung problema po ng pagbigay po ng sharing, hindi lang po involved sa 5th and 6th class. Lahat po ng LGU talaga nangangailangan ng budgetary requirements kung magkakaroon tayo ng full devolution. That is why I'm asking na dapat ang computation natin ay piso por piso. Piso ang ibibigay sa atin galing sa national tax allocations. Dapat yung mga national government agencies, 1 peso din lang ang ibibigay nila na devolved program sa atin. Hindi ho pwede na, hindi ho pareho yon. Because definitely, the LGUs cannot serve their purpose. Hindi po nila matutulungan, hindi po nila mabibigay yung mga serbisyo na kinakailangan tao sa mga devolved programs na ibibigay ng national government agencies natin, Mr. Speaker.
I agree with you 100% at sana ho ating mga kolig dito tulungan tayo para magkaroon ng adjustment itong share ng LGU. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat sa kongresista natin from Bulacan. Maraming salamat at umaasa po ako na susuportahan niyo itong panukalang gagawin natin.
Yes, you have my 101% support.
Salamat po. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Gomez and his interpellation to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the guests of the Honorable Bay Dimple Mastura of the 1st District of the Province of Maguindanao with the Cotabato City. They are guests from the Municipality of Sultan Kudarat, Maguindanao del Norte, Barangay Chairman Samsudin Madin of Barangay Bulalo, Barangay Chairman Muhalidin Abbas of Barangay Banubo, Barangay Chairman Guayber Dalinding of Barangay Crossing Simuay, Municipal Councilor Omar Bakar, Barangay Chairman Esmael Sukor of Barangay Nikitan, Barangay Chairman Ali Samad of Barangay Pingping, Barangay Chairman Narodin Tamboligaw of Barangay Olas, Barangay Chairman Salman Abdul Hamid of Barangay Mulaog, Municipal Administrator Sultan Banjo Maampon, and Municipal Councilor Muhammad Kasim.
The guest of Honorable Bay Dimple Mastura from the Municipality of Sultan Kudarat, Maguindanao del Norte, and Cotabato City, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we terminate the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading of House Bill number 4477, copies of which were distributed to the members pursuant to the rules of the House. For this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of these measures. Please proceed.
House Bill Number 4477, an act establishing greater responsibility and accountability from private employment agencies, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 10361, otherwise known as the Batas Kasambahay. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill Number 4477. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascook, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Rosas, Buhain, Bulot Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalao, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juanco Jaime, Ko Juanco Mart, Colada, Coliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuwa, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Kali, Dimaporo City Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael, Di Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enciso, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Fariñas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeyos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Pico, Gintu, Gulias, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Haresco, Ataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Po Olga Ara, Po Ricardo, Po Wilton, Punghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Legarda, Libanan, Lim Kay Chong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Macapagal Arroyo, Maseda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marinio, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles Juan Fidel, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Uaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongjuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicia Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramonjolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Ieda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sally, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, Yu Divina Grace, Yu Giselle Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill Number 4477. Abalos, Abunda, Agaraw, Almonte, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Ang, Atayde, Aumentado, Bautista, Beron, Cari, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juan, Ko Jaime, Dayang Hirang, Daza, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Ian Paul, Enverga, Farinas, Garcia Vincent, Go Ed Christopher, Gonzales Sandro, Guico, Gulyas, Hagidorn, Herrera, Horebata, Javier, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Libanan, Luistro, Lumayag, Macapagal Arroyo, Malapitan, Marcoleta, Marinio, Mendoza, Nograles Juan Fidel, Oaminal, Padiernos, Panotes, Primisha Sagabas, Revilla Brian, Rodriguez Eulogio, Romero, Sakdalan, Santos, Singson Richel, Suwan, Tan Stephen James, Tanchay, Teves Arnolfo, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tupas, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yu Divina Grace, Yu Giselle Victoria.
With 246 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill Number 4477 is approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading of House Bill Number 4479, copies of which were distributed to the members pursuant to the rules of the House. For this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to do the same. Please proceed.
House Bill 4479, an act expanding the prohibited acts of discrimination against women on account of sex, amending for the purpose Presidential Decree Number 442 as amended, otherwise known as the Labor Code of the Philippines. Roll call of members in consideration of third reading of House Bill Number 4479. Abalos, Abante, Agbunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez, Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Mantalion, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Angara, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Organsya, Asisto, Atayde, Mentado, Balindong, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Barscug, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bungalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Budbigtam, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayin, Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cawagdan, Cardem, Macari, Castro France, Castro Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalaw, Chuko, Angelica Lantasha, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juan, Ko Jaime, Ko Juan, Ko Mark, Colada, Collantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Quaresma, Dagoc, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hiram, Daza, de Jesus, de Venecia, Defensor del Mar, de Los Santos, de Maporo, Mohamed Khalid, de Maporo, City Amina, Junicio Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Dito Faustino, Ino, Di Faustino, Michael, Carlos, D. Ian Paul de Cleo, Emmanuel Inciso, Edverga Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Fariñas, Fernandez, Fer Antonio, Fer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Gallos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent Garjola, Garin, Gasatay, Gatchalian, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Groseta, Guico, Ginto, Gullias, Gutierrez, Sagidor, Najares, Hataman, Hernandez Herrera, Ribata, Javier, Co, Ogla Ara, Co, Ricardo, Co, Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara Lasatindi, Ligarda, Libanan, Limpechong, Loyola, Luis Tur, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Maranyon, Margoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado Rivilla, Miguel Momo, Morden, Vanisa, Noel, Nagrares, Juan, Fidel Felipe, Nagrares, Margarita, Nolasco, Waminal, Olaso, Olivares, Sonchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicias, Agabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Rivilla, Brian, Rivilla, Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Trillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Eulogio, Rodriguez, Rufus, Roman Romero, Romualdez, Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez, Yede Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagrabaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sari, Sarimbangon, Saro, Salvame, Santos, Saulog, Silvero, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Chidoro, Tevez Arnolfo, Tevez Jose, Chanco, Cheng, Tolentino, Tufo, Jocelyn, Tulfo, Ralph Wendel, Tupas, Tutor, Tit, Umaliw, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuason, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villaferte, Luis Raymond, Villaferte, Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Cristiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edwick, Yap Eric, U Divine Grace, U Jesse Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill 4479. Abalos Abunta, Agaraw, Almonte, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Atayde, Aumentado, Bautista, Biron, Carico, Elizalde, Pilar, Juan, Jaime, Dayang Hirang, Dasa, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino, Ino, Di Ian Paul, Enverga Fariñas, Garcia Vincent, Go A. Christopher Gonzalez Sandro, Guico, Hagidorn, Ribata, Lagun Daphne, Lagun Sani, Libanan, Luis Tor, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Malapitan, Margoleta, Marino, Mendoza, Nagrales, Juan, Fidel Felipe, Waminal, Padiernas, Panotes, Permisos, Agabas, Revilla Brian, Rodriguez, Eulogio, Romero, Sakdalan, Santos, Singson Richel, Suwan, Tan Stephen James, Tan Chay, Tevez Arnolfo, Tolentino, Tupas, Versosa, Villafuerte, Luis Raymond, Villafuerte, Miguel Luis, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edwick, U Divine Grace, U Jason Victoria.
With 248 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 4479 is approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading of House Bill number 4513, copies of which were distributed to the members pursuant to the rules of the House. For this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the bill.
House Bill 4513, an act prohibiting game fixing and providing penalties for violations thereof. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 4513. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Charon, Asidre, Acop, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang Angara, Aquino, Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Argansya, Asisto, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barbara, Barbers, Baronda, Basaga, Bascug, Bautista, Dim, Benitez, Bernas, Millones, Biron, Bodilla, Bondok, Bungalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Burut, Bagtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon, Uy, Calderon, Calisto, Campos, Cavagdan, Cardema, Macari, Castro, France, Castro, Jean, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chunggalaw ko, Angelica, Natasha ko, Elizalde ko, Pilar, Kuhuan ko, Jaime, Kuhuan ko, Marco, Lada, Collantes, Corveros, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Quaresma, Dagook, Daripe, Dalog, Dayang Hiram, Dasa, De Jesus, de Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, de Los Santos, Dimaporo, Muhammad Kamidi, Dimapolo, Sita, Amire, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino, Ino, Di Faustino, Michael Carlos, Di Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Inciso, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrello, Idera, Fariñas, Fernandez, Ferrer, Antonio, Fer, Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Garjora Lagarin, Garsataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go, and Christopher, Go Mark, Go Les, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Groseta, Guigo, Ginto, Gulas, Gutierrez, Agidorn, Haresco, Ataman, Hernandez, Herrero, Ribata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Kong Hun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Noel, Lagman, Lagun Daphne, Lagun Sani, Lala Rastin, Di Ligado, Diban, Dim Kaichong, Loyola, Luistor, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Macedo, Madronan, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Rivilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Ravanisa, Noel, Nograles, Juan, Fidel Felipe, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Ominal, Olaso, Olivares, Onchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Urbano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Pagdas, Palma, Paniligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primis, Agabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla, Brian, Revilla, Ramon, Jolo, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Riologio, Rodriguez, Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez, Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez, Yele Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Rasakdalan, sa Galbaria, sa Kaluran, Salceda, Sali, sa Rimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, sa Ulig, Silvero, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Suansing Horacio, Suansing Micaela, Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith, Micah, Tan Reynolds, Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Watco, Tariela, Chedoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Chanco, Cheng, Tolentino, Tulfo, Jocelyn, Tulfo, Ralph Wendel, Tupas Tutor, Tito, Umali, Unabia, Unga, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Verfuerte, Luis Raymond, Villaferte, Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa, Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Chantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edwig, Yap Eric, Yu Divine Grace, Yu Yejel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill number 4513. Abalos Abunda Agaraw, Almonte Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong Atayde Aumentado, Bautista Biron, Carico, Elizalde Co, Pilar, Huwang ko Jaime, Dayang Hirang, Dasa Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino, Ino, Dia Ian Paul, Niverga Fariñas, Garcia Vincent Go, Christopher Gonzalo Sandro, Guico, Hagidorn, Haribata, Lagun Daphne, Lagun Sani, Libanan Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Malapitan, Marcolena, Marino, Mendoza, Nograles Juan, Fidel Felipe, Waminal, Padierno, Sumaranotes, Primis Agabas, Revilla Brian, Rodriguez, Eulogio, Romero, Sakdalan Santos, Singson Richel, Suan, Tan Stephen James, Tan Chay, Teves Arnolfo, Tolentino, Tupas Villa, Villaferte Luis Raymond, Villaferte Miguel Luis, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edwig, Yu Divine Grace, Yu Jason Victoria.
With 249 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 4513 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading of House Bill Number 6069, copies of which were distributed to the members pursuant to the rules of the House. For this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 6069 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 6069, an act promoting Philippine indigenous and traditional writing systems and providing for their protection, preservation, and conservation. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 6069. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Charon, Asidre, Ako, Padyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista, Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolillo, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Rosas, Buhain, Bulot, Bigtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon, Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalaw, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juan Ko Jaime, Ko Juan Omar, Colada, Colyantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Cuaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimoporo Muhammad Kali, Dimoporo City Amina, Dionisio Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael, Di Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enciso, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Fariñas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnelli, Fentebella, Galeyos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Goed Christopher, Gomark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gintu, Gulias, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Lili Garda, Libanan, Limcachong, Loyola, Luistro, Lamayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manigis, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Umaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Plato, Primicia Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramonjolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Iada Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Shai, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Unga, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villaferte Luis Raymond, Villaferte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill numbers 6069. Abalos, Abunda, Agaraw, Almonte, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Atayde, Aumentado, Bautista, Biron, Cari, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juan Ko Jaime, Dayang Hirang, Daza, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Ian Paul, Enverga, Fariñas, Garcia Vincent, Goed Christopher, Gonzales Sandro, Guico, Hagidorn, Horebata, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Libanan, Lumayag, Malapitan, Marcoleta, Marimio, Mendoza, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Uaminal, Padiernos, Panotes, Primicia Sagabas, Revilla Brian, Rodriguez Eulogio, Romero, Sakdalan, Santos, Singson Richel, Suwan, Tan Stephen James, Tanchay, Teves Arnolfo, Tolentino, Tupas, Villaferte Luis Raymond, Villaferte Miguel Luis, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, U Divina Grace, U Jazel Victoria.
With 251 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 6069 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading House Bill number 5830, copies of which were distributed to the members pursuant to the rules of the House. For this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 5830 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 5830, an act declaring January 22 of every year a special non-working holiday in the municipality of Guiguinto, province of Bulacan, in celebration of the Halamanan Festival. Roll call of members in consideration of third reading of House Bill number 5830. Abalas, Abante, Bunta, Charon, Asidre, Acop, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Mante, Amatong, Ang, Agara, Aquino, Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Sisto, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bonilla, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Burut, Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Calhayon, Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro, France, Castro, Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chunggalaw, Ko, Angelica, Natasha, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juan, Ko Jaime, Ko Juan, Ko Marco, Lada, Colyantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Dasa de Jesus, de Venecia, Defensor del Mar de los Santos, Dimaporo, Mohamed Khalid, Dimaporo City, Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino, Ino, Di Faustino, Michael Carlos, Di Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emmanuel Enciso, Verga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Fariñas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer, Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fesnedi, Fuentebella, Galeyos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Orturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garjola, Garin, Gasatay, Gatchalian, Gato, Goy Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Groseta, Guico, Ginto, Gulias, Cucheras, Hagidorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Ribata, Javier, Ko, Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lasitindi, Ligarda, Libanan, Dimkaychong, Loyola, Luis Tor, Lumayag, Macapagal Arroyo, Masayda, Matrona, Magsino, Malapitan ng mga awang Manikis, Manuel, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado Revilla, Miguel Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nogras, Juan, Fidel Felipe, Nogras, Margarita, Nolasco, Uaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Unchuan, Ordanas, Ortega, Juan Dizon, Padiernas, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Pimis, Gabas, Pumaren, Punog, Timbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Germanjolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodrigo Hiloyo, Rodrigo, Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez, Ferdinand, Martin, Romualdez, Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdaran, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Sanimba, Gonzalo, Salvame, Santos, Saulog, Silverio, Sinson Richel, Sinson Ronald, Sinson Mihan, Solon Soriano, Suwan, Suwansing Horacio, Suwansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tamunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambu, Tan Chay, Tan Juanco, Tariada, Teodoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tan Chanco, Cheng Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendel, Tupas Tuto, Tito Mali, Unabio, Unga Valeriano, Valmario, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco Tuason, Vergara Versosa, Villa Villafeto, Luis Raymond, Villafeto Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Crisantela, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edwick, Yap Eric, Yu Divina Grace, Yu Jason Victoria, Yulo, Zamora, Amparo Maria, Zamora, Maria Carmen, Zamora, Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill number 5830. Abalos, Abunda, Agaraw, Almonte, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Ataide, Umentado, Bautista, Biron, Cari, Co Elizalde, Co Pilar, Co Juan, Co Jaime, Dayang Hirang, Dasa, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino, Inot, Dia Ian Paul, Inverga, Farinas, Garcia, Vincent, Go, Ed Christopher, Gonzales, Sandro, Guico, Hagidorn, Haribata, Lagun Daphne, Lagun Sani, Dibanan, Lumayag, Malipitan, Marcoleta, Marino, Mendoza, Norgaras, Joel, Fidel Felipe, Ominal, Padiernos, Panotes, Primis, Agabas, Luis Brian, Rodriguez, Eulogio, Romero, Sakdalan, Santos, Sinson, Richel, Suan, Tanchay, Teves, Arnolfo, Tolentino, Tupas, Villafeto, Luis Raymond, Villafeto, Miguel Luis, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edwick, Yu Divina Grace, Yu Jason Victoria.
With 251 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 5830 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading House Bill number 6013, copies of which were distributed to the members pursuant to the rules of the House. For this purpose, may I request the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 6013 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 6013, an act creating a barangay in the city of San Fernando, province of Pampanga, to be known as Barangay Pulong Bulo. Roll call of members in consideration of House Bill number 6013 on third reading. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Ataide, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Beron, Bolilia, Bondok, Mungalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulot, Boygtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Cahayon, Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro France, Castro Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalao, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juanco Jaime, Ko Juanco Mark, Colada, Coliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz, Ricardo, Cuba, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Kali, Dimaporo City Amina, Dionisio Domingo Duavit Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael, Di Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enciso, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Farinas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnelli, Fentebelia, Galeyos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gintu, Gullias, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horebata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Kunghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Limcarchong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Branyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marinio, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel. Nograles, Juan Fidel, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Uwaminal. Olaso, Olivares, Ongjuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicia Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Siada Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Suwansing Horacio, Suwansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Taliado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Tevas Arnolfo, Tevas Jose, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T. Umali, Unabia, Unga, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill Number 6013. Abalos, Abunda, Agaraw, Almonte, Alvarez Mercedel, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Atayde, Aumentado, Bautista, Beron, Cari, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juan, Ko Jaime, Dayang Hirang, Daza, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Ian Paul, Enverga, Farinas, Garcia Vincent, Go Ed Christopher, Gonzalez Sandro, Guico, Hagidor, Nohorebata, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Libanan, Lumayag, Malapitan, Marcoleta, Marino, Mendoza, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Umaminal, Padiernos, Panotes, Premisa Sagabas, Revilla Brian, Rodriguez Eulogio, Romero, Sakdalan, Santos, Singson Richel, Suwan, Tanchay, Tevas Arnolfo, Talentino, Tupas, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, U Divina Grace, U Jazel Victoria.
With 251 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill Number 6013 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration and third reading of House Bill Number 6128, copies of which were distributed to the members pursuant to the rules of the House. For this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill Number 6128 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 6128, an act establishing in the municipality of Florida Blanca, province of Pampanga, a campus of the Pampanga State Agricultural University, to be known as the Pampanga State Agricultural University, Florida Blanca Campus, and appropriating funds therefore. Roll call of members in consideration of third reading of House Bill Number 6128. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Ocharon, Asidre, Acop, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Angara, Aquino, Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Argancia, Asisto, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barbers, Baronda, Barsaga, Bascog, Bautista, Dim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bodillo, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Burd, Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayin, Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cabagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro, France, Castro, Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalao, Ko, Angelica, Natasha, Ko, Elizalde, Ko, Pilar, Ko, Juan, Ko, Jaime, Ko, Juan, Ko, Mark, Colada, Collantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Pua Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayanghirang Dasa de Jesus del Mar, de Venecia, Defensor del Mar, de Los Santos, de Maporo, Muhammad Khalid, de Maporo City Amina, Junicio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino, Michael Carlos, Di Ian Paul, Icleo, Emmanuel Inciso, Inverga, Isclero, Spares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Farinas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Judith Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garjola, Garin, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go, Ed Christopher, Go, Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Groseta, Guico, Ginto, Gulas, Gutierrez, Hagidor, Naresco, Hataman, Hernandez Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Co, Olga Ara, Co, Ricardo, Co, Wilton, Gonghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagun Daphne, Lagun Sani, Lara, Lasatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Limcay Chong, Loyola, Luis Toro, Lumayag, Makapagal, Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Navani, Noel, Nograles, Juan, Fidel Felipe, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Juaminal, Olaso, Iluvares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Juan Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Premisa, Gabas, Maren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Rehencia, Revilla, Brian, Revilla, Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodrigo Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman Romero, Romualdez, Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez, Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagrabaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulog, Silvero, Sinson Richel, Sinson Ronald, Sinson Mihan, Solon Soriano, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela, Angela Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samuel, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Tuchadoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Chanco, Cheng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Rafael del Tupas, Tutor, T. Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Alfonso, Veloso Toazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villafete Luis Raymond, Villafete Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Crisantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divine Grace, U Jessel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabela Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill number 6128. Abalos, Abunda, Agaraw, Almonte, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Atayde, Aumentado, Bautista, Biron, Carico, Elizalde, Pilar, Juan, Jaime, Dayanghirang, Dasa, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Ian Paul, Enverga, Farinas, Garcia, Vincent, Go, and Christopher, Gonzales, Sandro, Guico, Hagidor, Noribata, Lagun Daphne, Lagun Sani, Libanan, Lumayag, Malapitan, Magcoleta, Marino, Mendoza, Nograles, Juan Fidel Felipe, Waminal, Padiernas, Panotes, Primis, Agabas, Ervilla, Brian, Rodriguez, Eulogio, Romero, Sakdalan, Santos, Sinson Richel, Suwan, Tanchay, Tieves, Arnolfo, Tolentino, Tupas, Villafete, Luis Raymond, Villafete, Miguel Luis, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, U Divine Grace, U Jessel Victoria.
With 251 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 6128 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading House Bill number 6129, copies of which were distributed to the members pursuant to the rules of the House. For this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting.
Is there any objection? Chair is none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 6129 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 6129, an act converting the satellite campuses of the Bukidnon State University located in the municipalities of Talakag, Baungon, Libona, Malitbog, Impasugong, Cabanglasan, San Fernando, Quezon, Kitaw-Taw, Damulog, Kadingilan, and Kalilangan in the province of Bukidnon into regular campuses of the Bukidnon State University and appropriating funds therefore. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 6129. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Omentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascook, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bungalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulot Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jean, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chunggalaw, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juanco Jaime, Ko Juanco Mark, Colada, Colliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuwa, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Kali, Dimaporo City Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael, Di Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enciso, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Eudela, Farinas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gintu, Gulias, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horebata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Limcachong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikiz, Manuel, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Uaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicia Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Rigencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramonjolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Suwansing Horacio, Suwansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Shai, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Velosa Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villaferte Luis Raymond, Villaferte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill number 6129. Abalos, Abunda, Agaraw, Almonte, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Atayde, Omentado, Bautista, Biron, Cari, Co Elizalde, Co Pilar, Co Juanco Jaime, Dayang Hirang, Daza, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Ian Paul, Enverga, Farinas, Garcia Vincent, Go Ed Christopher, Gonzales Sandro, Guico, Hagidorn, Horebata, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Libanan, Lumayag, Malapitan, Marcoleta, Marinho, Mendoza, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Uhaminal, Padiernos, Panotes, Primicia Sagabas, Revilla Brian, Rodriguez Eulogio, Romero, Sakdalan, Santos, Singson Richel, Suwan, Tanchay, Teves Arnolfo, Tolentino, Tupas, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Yap Christopher Son, Yap Edvic, U Divina Grace, U Jazel Victoria.
With 251 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 6129 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Before we proceed to the next item in the agenda, the Chair would like to declare 2-minute suspension of session.
Send mo sa daw sa akin. Pag sinuraman ko, kaya pag sinuraman ko,
Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we immediately transmit to the Senate the bills that we just approved on third reading.
Kindly repeat, Your Honor.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we immediately transmit to the Senate the bills that we just approved on third reading.
There is a motion to transmit to the Senate the bills that were approved on third reading. Is there any objection? There is none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the guests of the Honorable Josefina Taliado from the 1st District of Camarines Norte, the guests from the Municipality of Kapalonga, Camarines Norte, Vice Mayor Marcia Esturas, SB Secretary Merlene A. Gonzaga, Councilor Caroline O. Portugal, Councilor Elmer M. Malaluan, Councilor Mariano L. Arguelles, Councilor Jumaro R. Parale, Councilor Arlene V. Mena, Councilor Abel P. Malaluan IV, Barangay Captain Brigido P. Tuacar, Barangay Captain Santiago M. Valdez, Barangay Captain Analiza V. Ajero, Barangay Captain Isabelito O. Sarmiento, Barangay Captain Arlene G. Conmigo, Barangay Captain Sammy Avellano, Barangay Captain Eduardo T. Jueves, Barangay Captain Leslie B. Esturas, Barangay Captain Rodel B. Crisolo, Barangay Captain Leopoldo G. San Antonio, Barangay Captain Jodel B. Cardenas, Barangay Captain Romel C. Regidor, Barangay Captain Nemesio P. Portugal Jr., Barangay Captain Esmeraldo Escartin, Barangay Captain Christopher Bueseng, Barangay Captain Norberto Morillo, Barangay Captain Antonio C. Obina, Barangay Captain Jose M. Romano, Barangay Captain Antonio C. Mayao, and Barangay Captain Michael San Jose.
We acknowledge the guests of the Honorable Josefina Taliado from the 1st District of Camarines Norte. Her guests coming from the municipality of Kapalonga, Camarines Norte. Welcome to the House of Representatives. Let's give them a round of applause. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, under the calendar of business for the day, I move that we consider House Bill number 6336 as contained in Committee Report number 179 as submitted by the Committees on Agrarian Reform and Committee on Ways and Means, and may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the said measure.
Is there an objection? Chair is none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 6336.
House Bill 6336, an act emancipating agrarian reform beneficiaries from financial burden by condoning unpaid amortizations and interests and exempting payment of state tax on agricultural lands awarded under the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? There is none. The period of sponsorship and debate is hereby open.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Agrarian Reform, the Honorable Representative Solomon R. Chungalao, Congressman and Representative of the Lone District of Ifugao, to sponsor the said measure.
Is there any objection? Chair is none. The chairman of the Committee on Agrarian Reform, the Honorable Representative Solomon R. Chungalao, is hereby recognized for the sponsorship of House Bill number 6336.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is my pleasure to sponsor a historical and groundbreaking proposed legislative measure entitled an act emancipating agrarian reform beneficiaries from financial burden by condoning unpaid amortizations and interest and exempting payment of estate tax on agricultural lands awarded under the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, to be otherwise known as the new Agrarian Emancipation Act. This substitute bill is the outcome of the consolidation of 15 distinct House bills as a result of the call of the President to craft legislation that will eliminate the financial debt of our agrarian reform beneficiaries. As part of the priority legislative agenda of the administration, the Committee on Agrarian Reform swiftly but steadfastly placed profound importance on the approval of this measure. The foremost feature of the new Agrarian Emancipation Act is the condonation of all unpaid amortizations, interest, including applicable penalties and surcharges due from agrarian reform beneficiaries arising from the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program and other agrarian reform laws. The total amount being forfeited by the government is estimated to be at 58 billion pesos in principal and arrears. But this is a small amount to be concretely aid in the alleviation and freedom of agrarian reform beneficiaries from the shackles of economic burden. In executing the condonation, the benefits are rewarding, considering that they may still be felt by future generations of ARBs. This massive game changer in the realm of future generations of ARBs and the agrarian reform is sure to have ripple effects, not just in our agricultural sector, but surely in our economy and rural development. Furthermore, the provision of estate tax relief and free distribution of land to the beneficiaries who have yet to pay comprises the multi-pronged attack that will ensure full emancipation for all ARBs. In approving this proposed measure, our ARBs can fully focus the resources, effort, and expertise on food production for the benefit of the general population, making our nation food secure. In doing so, we are likewise optimistic about our financial improvement if the new Agrarian Emancipation Act is coupled with government's effort on broadened support services, crop insurance, disaster relief, and poverty alleviation. Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues, given the importance and significance of this proposed measure, and on behalf of the Committee on Agrarian Reform and the co-authors, I earnestly seek your support and approval on House Bill number 6336. Thank you very much.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Ways and Means, the Honorable Representative Joey Sarte Salceda of the 2nd District of Albay, to sponsor the said measure.
The Honorable Chairperson of the Committee on Ways and Means, the Honorable Joey Salceda, is recognized to sponsor the House Bill 6336.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. May I ask for, in order to further elucidate this August body, I have a PowerPoint presentation, very short. Thank you very much. So this is the new Agrarian Emancipation Act, which offer opportunities for rural development. Next. Next. Actually, just brief background. Actually, as early as February 2003, we brought up this concern about having stranded ARB lands due to non-payment of amortization during a discussion of the first land administration and management project. The executive director of LAMP was then ASEC Maylene Garcia Albano, our former colleague. Then on May 2007, when I was in the cabinet formed task force to study the proposal to condone agri loans. In March 2020, ARISE, which was approved on third reading by this House, included provisions on ARB debt condonation, but was not considered in the final Bayanihan II law. On July 22, PBBM, our president, in his SONA, made it official state policy. Next. Let me go directly to the economic impacts of condonation. CARP without adequate support services and with limited capital or entrepreneurship among farmer beneficiaries is shown to have reduced agricultural productivity in CARP land by as much as 34.1% compared to baseline. This has resulted in almost 418 billion in lost productivity for all CARP lands every year for the 10.3 million hectares of CARP land. Condonation of ARB debts could result in increase in productivity of between 33.8%, as the market can now allocate the land more efficiently, and 38.3% a productivity-enhancing intervention are increased, especially by the state. Next. This is actually, tawag namin dito, banig. Can I have my copy? Actually, if you look at this, there are several things. The gross value added, if emancipated plus efficiency, will result to 195 billion. The productivity gains is 33 billion. Total GVA, if emancipated, is 174 billion. The net present value of productivity gains is 629 billion. The estimated fair market value accruing, assuming only 50 pesos, is 590 billion to the farmer beneficiaries. And the unlocked rural credit liquefying the rural property market is 472 billion. Note that the increase in productivity gains due to introduction of high-yield seeds, this will entail seed costs to increase by 65% of total regular seed varieties. For total emancipated land area, this requires 4.7 billion, just 4.7 billion, in additional seed subsidies, or a benefit of 4.35 times better than an ordinary infrastructure. Next. Land distribution and emancipation of reforms under President Marcos. One, of course, is the moratorium on amortization of agrarian reform payments, executive order signed last September 13. The new Agrarian Emancipation Act, which will condone 58.125 billion, benefiting 654,000 agrarian reform beneficiaries and involving a total of 1.18 million hectares of awarded lands. 3, distribution of 52,000 hectares of unused government lands, which might require an amendment of 9700 or CARPER, so that it can be distributed to new farmers. Next, moratorium on ARB payments. It imposes a one-year moratorium amortization in interest payments of ARBs for agricultural land distributed under CARP. The amortization in interest due from ARBs have expanded to 58.1 from just 52 billion in 2007. The decision to condone land was actually internally approved by the Royal Cabinet in Administrative Order number 176, which created a task force to review the possibility of condoning outstanding and amortization liabilities of ARBs. Instead of condonation, which appeared to be less fiscally sound, given that the government had just overcome a fiscal crisis, the government instead opted for a land titling project to remove barriers to efficient land use, resulting in the so-called support to parcelization of land for individual titling or split project. Konti na lang. New Agrarian Emancipation Act. 1. Condones 58.1 billion, lifts liens of GFIs, effectively extends land distribution, and broadens scope of services. Remember, this act effectively allows DAR to provide services not just to the 1.18, but to the 10.3 million beneficiaries out of the 13 million private distributed lands or lands, anong tawag mo doon? Hindi awin. Sa karamihan po, out of 13 million lands under private ownership, 10.3 million came from CARB. At ito po ang isang malaking benepisyo nito because this will enable the Department of Agrarian Reform to support the 10.3 million beneficiaries of CARB. It gives preference, number 5, it gives preference for support services to ARBs who have completed payments of amortization in interest. Tama lang, para mawala po yung moral hazard. Kasi magre-reklamo yung mga nagsipagbayad ng buo, kami pala nagbayad tapos wala kaming benepisyo. It also allow the ARBs who have made any partial payment of amortization or interest to avail of a lifetime estate tax exemption. Lifetime tax exemption. 6% based on the decedent's total net estate. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang po ito tax amnesty, kundi tax exempt forever. And number 7, the issuance of land title for emancipated lands. And 8, restitution of land forfeited solely yung mga binawi o ng gobyerno dahil hindi nakakabayad through land bank. Under this law, ibabalik po natin sila either through payment or restitution of land if it's possible. Next. This is actually just a policy pronouncement of the President with respect to the 52,000 hectares of public agricultural land under EO 75. This land will be acquired from government agencies, and essentially it will be, the preference will go essentially to new farmers. Next. And last page. The scale of PBBM's land reform. Emancipated under NAEA, 1,180, public agricultural lands distributed 52, and the total land area distributed under CARP, 10.3 million out of total cultivated, total cultivated Philippine land area, 13.4. It is fascinating to see that out of the 13.4 million cultivated land in this country, 10 million came from the initiative of the government under social justice. So, with that, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, we ask for the expeditious approval of this bill, which is a priority bill of the President and was mentioned during his sonnet. Thank you very much and good evening.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman from the 1st District of Albay, the Honorable Representative Edsel C. Lagman, for his interpellation or manifestation.
The gentleman from Albay, the Honorable Edsel Lagman, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to make it of record that I am supportive of this measure known as the New Agrarian Emancipation Act. However, I have some clarificatory questions. So, may I know whether either or both the sponsors would yield?
The honorable sponsor, the chairman, two chairmen are with us this afternoon. The Honorable Salceda will answer.
Thank you very much.
Under this bill, Mr. Speaker, there will be a total condemnation of an agrarian reform beneficiary's indebtedness to the government for the awarded lands, both with respect to arrearages and future amortization. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
How much will an agrarian reform beneficiary benefit from the condonation on an annual basis?
On a nominal basis, it's, well, the grand total, the principal, inclusive of all the surcharges, is 58.1 billion. So on an annual basis, we'll compute, Your Honor. Can we proceed to the next question while we are trying to upload from our database?
Well, in the first place, the computation should be on an annual basis because the government is not going to forfeit immediately in 1 year the 58 billion because the amortizations are spread out through the years. Anyway, may we know whether how many agrarian reform beneficiaries have totally paid their indebtedness corresponding to the lands awarded to them since the enactment of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law on June 15, 1988. I am referring to those who are not delinquent but has fully paid.
Again, can I ask for a few minutes just to upload, Your Honor, the data?
May we also know whether the sponsoring committees have any data on how many agrarian reform beneficiaries have defaulted and there are now pending proceedings for the forfeiture of the lands awarded to them.
We are taking down all the questions, Your Honor, and we will try to answer them as soon as we get the official numbers. Meron ka ba?
And also, may we know whether the sponsoring committees have any data on how many agrarian reform beneficiaries will benefit from this new Agrarian Emancipation Act?
Officially, the 654,000.
What is the basis of that figure? May we know, Mr. Speaker,
DAR.
distinguished sponsor.
DAR and Land Bank.
Can we have the report of Land Bank and DAR with respect to this figure?
Yes, Your Honor. We will ask for a certification.
Now, under this proposal, under this measure, the agrarian reform beneficiary cannot sell, transfer, or convey except through hereditary succession or to the government or to the Land Bank of the Philippines or to other qualified beneficiaries through the DAR for a period of 10 years.
That's correct, Your Honor.
From the issuance of the certificate
of condemnation. That's correct, Your Honor.
May we know whether that prohibition would include the inability of the agrarian reform beneficiary to mortgage the land as a collateral for any indebtedness to a banking institution or to a private individual?
They can, but nobody will accept it.
Hey, that's not a way. My question is whether they are prohibited or they are not prohibited from mortgaging
They're not
land.
prohibited, Your
They are not prohibited.
They're not prohibited.
In other words, they can mortgage.
Yes.
And if they mortgage and fail to pay the mortgage indebtedness, the creditor, whether a banking institution or a private creditor, can foreclose the mortgage. Is that correct?
No, because there is a 10-year period.
Well, can we just specify that during the 10-year period, the agrarian reform beneficiary cannot mortgage? What can be mortgaged would be the products of the land, but not the land itself.
That's an innovative way of doing it, Your Honor, but I think we will submit it to the wisdom of this body, honorable body, whether we will, because I think in general, as an investment banker or as a banker myself, I will not accept an agrarian reform title which has this kind of tatak sa likod na hindi pwedeng ilipat within 10 years. Hindi wala akong tatanggap na creditor.
Yung bangko hindi tatanggap. But how about private individuals?
I think it's their call, Your Honor, but all I'm saying is that as a general rule, no banks will accept it, a mortgage that disallows foreclosure within 10 years.
Because the mortgagee may not only be a bank, the mortgagee could be a private individual. And my apprehension is that once the land is mortgaged and the agrarian reform beneficiary fails to pay his indebtedness, the mortgage will be foreclosed, and that will be the end of agrarian reform as far as that farmer beneficiary is concerned. So it would be best to spell in black and white that during that period of 10 years or even more, the injunction should include non-mortgage of the land.
At the appropriate time, Your Honor, during the period of amendments, certainly I think the body will consider that.
Yes, but what is the wisdom of the sponsor with respect to this proposal?
Your Honor, there were attempts before, even when this bill was not yet existent, prior to 2003. As a neophyte congressman, there were bills that were introduced in this Congress which essentially said that agrarian reform lands can be used as collateral. So, Your Honor, there were many attempts by this Congress to give farmers or beneficiaries of agrarian reform access to credit they need in order to optimize the benefits, the fruits of their land. Ownership.
Those bills never saw the light of day.
That's correct, Your Honor.
In other words, the wisdom of Congress was not to allow agrarian reform beneficiaries to mortgage their land, because once they do that and they fail to pay, definitely agrarian reform will be doomed as far as that farmer is concerned. So we are trying to propose at the proper time that the right to mortgage should not also be included in this injunction for the period of 10 years or even more. As a social legislation, Is the sponsor keen on retaining the 10-year period, or can we extend this to a longer period in order to really protect the agrarian reform beneficiary from losing his land?
I think 10 years for me is already too long.
It could be too short.
Well,
Many agrarian reform beneficiaries are not anymore covered by this provision. And there could be an avalanche of transfer. And definitely that will just destroy the program on agrarian reform. But at the proper time, we will make the necessary individual amendment. Now,
Your Honor, based on my advisor, ARB yes, successor no.
I beg your pardon?
ARB yes, successor no. I'm referring to your mortgage proposal.
Yeah. Why make the distinction? When a successor inherits the land, he becomes an agrarian reform beneficiary. So there is no reason or logic for such distinction. Now let me go to another point. Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, we are not only condoning the amortization of agrarian reform beneficiaries, which is really laudable, and we support that. But there are other provisions here wherein the agrarian reform beneficiary will be exempted from paying real estate tax.
Correct.
Correct. Now, how much in real estate tax would be forfeited by the government, more properly the local government units who are benefiting from the real estate tax?
But if it's based only if you use the current balance, it's only about 18 billion, 6 times 6.
Beg your pardon?
6 times 60. 3.6 billion. But if it's based on the fair market value, Your Honor, that is 36 billion.
That will be out of the coffers of the local government units.
Oh, I'm talking here, Your Honor, of national taxes, basically. Sorry. I thought you were
when we talk
referring
about
to
real estate
the
taxes-
estate taxes.
No, the real estate taxes.
We cannot exempt them from real estate taxes. I think that is, we will, because we don't want to diminish the fiscal autonomy of the local governments, Your Honor.
Well, it says here, the Department of Interior and Local Government shall also encourage local government units to enact local tax amnesty on real estate taxes and other taxes of qualified ARBs under this section.
Yes, Your Honor.
What is meant by this?
That's meant, Your Honor, because as Chairman of the Committee on Ways and Means, we have already approved that the government's willing to forego almost 36 billion in estate taxes permanently for all beneficiaries covered by this act. However, we cannot impose our will on the local government, Your Honor, because we'd rather give them the option of whether they wish to still collect from the beneficiaries, because we'd rather respect fiscal autonomy, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, thank you for that answer, because it is now clear, Mr. Speaker, that the agrarian reform beneficiaries are not exempt from real estate taxes. And it would depend on the local government unit if they would like to exempt the agrarian reform beneficiaries from paying real estate taxes.
That's correct, Your Honor, because the RPT is a recurring annual payment. The estate tax that we have foregone is a one-time transaction.
Now, Mr. Speaker, I heard the distinguished sponsor say tax exemption forever.
Yes.
What is meant by that?
Estate tax.
Estate tax. Only.
That's right.
Well, definitely, that's a one payment tax. So if you are exempted from paying the estate tax, that would be really forever.
Just because if they transfer to the next beneficiary, Your Honor, the next still exempt. So all these lands are exempt from estate tax.
That's a good proposition, because the next in succession would still be an agrarian reform beneficiary. That is why I was saying that previously there is no logic or reason for making a distinction between an original agrarian reform beneficiary and a successor agrarian reform beneficiary through succession.
Your Honor, we can take the converse of your line of attack by simply saying that if they are no longer ARBs, then they are not exempted.
When does a person cease to be an ARB?
When it is conveyed to somebody who is not an heir, Your Honor, as defined in the law, as defined in this proposed bill,
but if
as successor.
But if the land is conveyed to an heir through testamentary or intestate succession, then the heir is still considered an agrarian reform beneficiary.
Yes.
That's correct. That's correct. So there is no distinction. A distinction should not be made between the original agrarian reform beneficiary and the heir as a successor in interest.
Well, we can cut the hairs here, Your Honor, but all I'm saying is that for as long as they are ARB, they are exempted.
Most probably, at the proper time, we have to make a definitive provision on how an ARB would lose that status. But definitely, the successor heir will still be an
ARB.
Because since we are making this law, I think let's make it as much as possible a clear statute. I have pending questions which were not yet answered. Are there now the necessary computations?
Your Honor, with respect to forfeited lands, we called DAR, Secretary Estrella. He actually, on November 18, he issued an order for the revalidation of lands as of November 18, 2022, so we cannot provide an official figure. However, around 89,000 per ARB in lifted loans or forgiven loans and interest, but 902,000, but that's debatable, in estimated fair market value. So the answer to your question is 89,000, and with respect to forfeited lands, it's being revalidated.
What is that 89,000, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor?
That is the average benefit per ARB.
89,000.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Now, is there any assurance that the 89,000 per agrarian reform beneficiary will go back to the improvement of the land, or will go back to productive endeavors? What assurance do we get? Or
Your Honor,
most probably, it will go to supporting the food requirements of the family, or with respect to other commodities. But there is no assurance that this 89,000 per beneficiary will go back to the land.
Your Honor, the 89,000 is non-cash. It's something that we forgive. Halimbawa, si Congressman Changalao may utang sa akin 89,000. Sabi ko, oy, wag mo na lang bayaran, sa'yo na yung lupa. So I don't really give them anything except the fact that yes, now we have condoned any financial burden on his owners or on his tenure of the land. Ideally, the best way really is by taking off the 89 billion, it will allow credit. And as you already mentioned, it's not just the banks, but even private. And so since, however, you, as earlier mentioned, you oppose this, so the bill also includes provision for support services by DAR for 10.3 million lands that are actually CARP lands from the start.
Well, that's good to know, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, because some agrarian reform beneficiaries might try to monetize the benefits, which they're not actually going to receive because they are just relieved from the financial burden. And the answer to their need is to increase the support services
Correct, yeah.
being granted by the government. Now, I have another question which has not been answered, and the data on how many agrarian reform beneficiaries have fully paid their indebtedness to the government since the enactment of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law on June 15, 1988.
Tomorrow we'll give it to you, Your Honor. I already called the President of Land Bank, and they will call it from their records.
Well, thank you for that commitment. Meanwhile, I will suspend first my interpellation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend session for a few minutes.
There is a motion. The session suspended.
Check, paano lang natin?
Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 6336 as contained in Committee Report 179.
There is a motion to suspend consideration of House Bill 6336. Is there any objection? Chair is none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up the additional reference of business, and for this purpose, may I request the Secretary General to read the title of the resolution for first reading.
There is a motion to take up items on first reading. Is there any objection? Chair is none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the bill and resolution on first reading. And the communication for referral to appropriate committees.
Additional reference of business. House Resolution 598. Resolution commending and congratulating the Honorable Rosemary J. Arenas, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, for having been conferred the ASEAN Interparliamentary Assembly (AIPA) Distinguished Service Award during the 43rd AIPA General Assembly held in Phnom Penh, Kingdom of Cambodia, by Representatives Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Dalipe, Libanan, Marcos, Romualdez de Marie, and Asidre.
To the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider House Resolution 598, and for this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General read the title of the said House Resolution.
There is a motion to take up House Resolution 598. There is no objection. Chair is none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the resolution.
House Resolution 598. Resolution commending and congratulating the Honorable Rosemary J. Arenas, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, for having been conferred the ASEAN Interparliamentary Assembly AIPA Distinguished Service Award during the 43rd AIPA General Assembly held in Phnom Penh, Kingdom of Cambodia.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we adopt House Resolution 598.
There is a motion to adopt House Resolution number 598. As many as in favor, say aye. Aye. As many are against, say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution number 598 is hereby adopted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend session for a few minutes.
Session suspended. Session is resumed.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the majority, I move to elect the following members to the various committees. To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries, as Vice Chairperson Jaresco Teodorico Jr., Vice Alba Jose Manuel F., as members Advincula Adrian J.C., Ataide Juan Carlos Ardo C., Rilio Marvin D., Estrella Robert Raymond M., D. Faustino Ino V.A., Swansing, Michaela Angela B., Zamora Isabel Maria J., Go Ed Christopher S. To the Committee on Climate Change, as member Abante Bienvenido Jr. M. To the Committee on Constitutional Amendments, as Vice Chairperson Madrona Alejandra Jesus F. As members Abante Bienvenido, Suwan Lordan G. To the Committee on Ethics and Privileges, as member Abante Bienvenido Jr. M. To the Committee on Foreign Affairs, as member Abante Bienvenido Jr. M. To the Committee on Government Reorganization, as members Alba Soy Manuel F., Tambunting Gus S., Talyado Josefina B., Dimaporo City Amina Q. To the Committee on Human Rights, as member Benitez Jose Francisco Kiko B. To the Committee on Indigenous Cultural Communities and Indigenous Peoples, as member Bulut Begtang Eleanor C. To the Committee on Metro Manila Development, as members Abante Bienvenido Jr. M. Tambunting Gus S. To the Committee on Natural Resources, as member Bulut Begtang Eleanor C. To the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs, as member Abante Bienvenido Jr. M. To the Committee on Population and Family Relations, as member Morden Michael M. To the Committee on Public Information, as member Abante Bienvenido Jr. M. To the Committee on Transportation, as member Abante Bienvenido Jr. M. To the Committee on Veterans Affairs and Welfare, as members Zamora Maria Carmen S. Tan Samir A. To the Committee on Women and Gender Equality, as member Abante Bienvenido Jr. M. To the Special Committee on Bicol Recovery and Economic Development, as member Abante Bienvenido Jr. M. To the Special Committee on Food Security, as member Bulut Begtang Eleanor C. To the Special Committee on West Philippine Sea, as member Abante Bienvenido Jr. M. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no business left for the day, I move to adjourn session until tomorrow, Tuesday, November 29th, 3 p.m.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there any objection? Session is adjourned until tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sure.
Recording stopped.